Okay, so again, we're talking about building a character from without. You were building a character from within. You're dealing primarily with sense memory triggers and remembered emotion. When you're building a character from without, you're not really dealing with sense memory. You're not really dealing with remembered emotion so much as what you're dealing with is a detailed analysis of the script and specifically of the character that's based on their psychology, their physiology, their social status, their personal history, their sexuality, things like that. A couple of years ago, I created something, basically sort of like a little workbook. Now we have it in an ebook form that I call the Ultimate Character Builder. And what that is a specific template, or it's really sort of a workbook. What this thing does for you is that it prompts you to study the character in depth. A lot of this is coming out of the text, the given circumstances of the story of the character, things that we may reasonably surmise about your character, what's happened to them before. We take a close look at childhood and formative experiences, education, your social status, past relationships. We'll break it down into specifics. And what it does is it allows you to sort of, you go and you kind of fill all this in as you go along. And bit by bit, what it does is it really creates a very detailed history, kind of a rich tapestry of the character that you can refer to and guide you in the rehearsal process. What it also does for you as you go along, I like to think of it as it sort of helps you create sort of a detailed, tri-dimensional character suit of sorts, right? And it's the kind of thing that once it's really complete, that the actor can kind of just sort of like step into and pull on and take onto themselves and, zip it up and put it all down and put it in place. And there's the character. Okay, so this in the first page we talk about just the general physical attributes of the character, right? How do I look? Color of my eyes, my skin, my hair, my size, my weight, my height, the shape of my body, my hands, all of these things. Now, there's two ways you can look at it. You can look at this, first of all, as maybe it's some sort of idealized version of the character, right, that the writer may have put down into the script. Eugene O'Neill was known for doing things like this. He was very, very specific about everything. Or you could be looking at a script by David Mamet, who doesn't really give you much of anything by way of character description. He's really, he kind of leaves a blank canvas. And different writers have different philosophies. But, so there is that. There is what the writer gives you, that may or may not be reinforced by what the director gives you. Or, instead of that writer/idealized version of the character, you may choose to create your version, the actor's version of the character, right? And that could be a fusion of some of the attributes that are in the script, along with some of the things that you bring to the table in terms of your own physicality. But what's important to remember about the character's physicality, it's not enough to say that it's not enough to say that I'm 27 years old and I'm a dark-haired, dark-eyed woman with, creamy white skin and I'm sort of slender and tall and I could be Mary Louise Parker's, little sister or something like that. Because you're still, and even if that's your casting and you walk through the door and people say, oh my God, Mary Louise Parker's younger sister. That's just your physicality, okay? What I'm more interested in, and what you should be more interested in, is how do you approach your character's physicality? How does your character feel about their body? How does your character feel about the fact that everybody thinks that she's Mary Louise Parker's younger sister, and maybe she's not, and maybe she doesn't, maybe she likes that comparison, maybe she's flattered by that comparison, or maybe she isn't. So This is a whole series of questions that you need to ask yourself. Just starting out with the basic building blocks of the character's body. How do I feel about myself? How do I feel about my weight? How do I feel about my hair? How many people do you know that don't like their hair? It's too thin, it's too curly, it's too straight, it's too blonde, it's too black. People come up with all sorts of excuses not to like themselves, right, in real life. And, dramatic characters, by definition, are always in crisis, right? So, you've got to look for those things and mind them. Not that every character you create needs to be this, neurotic psychological minefield, but you want to be looking for the complications. You want to be looking for the details. You want to be looking for the specifics that are going to help you drive behavior and justify actions. All right, the next thing we talk about in terms of character building from that, we talk about body language, right? This is a really important one. Now, if you're an actor or a student actor and you've never read any books on body language, you need to get to the library and get at least one or two. In my book, I've got some recommendations on that, but you need to learn about body language. Put simply, body language is nonverbal expression of emotion, right? We're conveying how we feel about certain situations, about certain people, and this can take the form of a lot of different things. Nervous habits, right? Tics, people do things. The use of space, how close do I get to you or not get to you? You need to think about gestures, eye movements, touch, right? There are some characters, like we've all met people who just don't ever touch anybody, and then we know there are people that we call you're very touchy-feely. But that says something about who they are. It says a lot of things about what they want. And we also have to think about what people are trying to hide, right? I think I've talked about this before. I know we talk about this in class. One of the primary differences between the stage actor and the film actor is that the stage actor is always trying to express things and push things out, right? Because when you're on stage, you've got a big space to fill, you've got a lot of bodies to reach, you've got a lot of ears to get to, and eyes to fill. And so you're always sort of projecting what's going on, where the film actors are really about what they try to hide, right? And because film acting is from the chin up or the mouth up or the nose up or right here up. It's all right here. So the events are much smaller. So it's really much more about what the film actor reveals in moments of distraction or weakness. So conversely, you need to think about what body language works for your character in terms of what are they trying to hide and what they can't help revealing. So again, 3 things that you want all of your characters to have. They should all have a nervous habit, right? They should all have a defense posture that they fall back on at different points. And they should all have what we have to call a tell moment, right? When I give something away unintentionally, maybe unconsciously. And none of these things need to be huge. They can be relatively subtle. But what they really help you do is they help you create a detailed character and an emotional through line that's going to carry you through the play or the film. Okay, so the next thing we talk about is appearance, which is different from your physical characteristics, right? Your appearance isn't really so much your height and your weight and your hair, but it is how you look, right? How you or the character presents themselves to the world. Everybody's got a look, right? Lots of people cultivate a look, right? Some people are very clean, some people are very grungy, Some people have a very corporate. Some people have a very unique style. How does your character look? How do they cultivate that look? And you really have to ask yourself a series of questions as to why do they have that look, right? Dramatic characters dress a certain way because they have a very specific agenda, right? They dress to impress, they dress to seduce, they dress to overpower, they dress to succeed. There are no accidents in the appearance of a character, right? So the actor needs to take very close care as to how they choose to present them and the reasons why. The next thing we're going to talk about defects, right? Everybody's got a defect. Everybody's got things about themselves they don't like, right? These can be obvious things. I could be playing Cyrano de Bergerac, and I've got a proboscis that's out to here. Well, that's real obvious, but it doesn't have to be obvious. It can be something relatively small. It can be something that's hidden. It can be something that only certain people see under certain circumstances, and yet it's something that drives behavior, right? I mean, maybe I'm a beautiful woman from like the knees up, but I've got the ugliest damn feet that God ever made, and it's a great source of irritation and embarrassment to me. It can be a lot of things. All characters have objectives. All characters have super objectives. All characters have obstacles, right? So personal defects can be great obstacles. Just things that get in the way, things that slow you down, things that make your process that much more complicated. The thing to remember is that you don't want to play the defect, right? You don't want to play the obstacle. What you want to play, you want to play your struggle against it, right? Because that's what's interesting.